Let's get started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly. As usual, we'll be going through the happenings on the markets, have a quick stop on some of the tokens that participants select, and then I'll talk briefly about the knowledge sharing that I would like to do for today. So, without much ado, let's start with the first news, which is the Central African Republic's cryptocurrency policy. So, some time ago, I'm not sure how many people knew that the Central African Republic decided that they're not going to be collecting dollars, that they want to be paid in crypto, and that they want a situation in which they get value for the extraction that's happening in their country. So Central African Republic is pretty much like Congo. They have a lot of resources, and they are very resource dense across board. So they have the gold, lithium, diamonds. They have all of it. As a result of that, there's conflicts, and I mean, understandably so. A lot of interested parties who want to be, take part in plundering their ecosystem. So, understandably, there's a lot of interest, foreign interest in their countries. So, along with people like El Salvador, they've started making the push that they want to be paid in crypto. Another interesting news that happened was the the 30% tax that US is placing on crypto mining in the United States. I don't know if you've heard about that, but there's a 30% tax that the United States government wants to place on cryptocurrency miners. Um, I don't know where I don't know where it's coming from, but it's part of the stuff on Biden's administration. You see, the funny thing is, and I like how this is panning out, especially for Bitcoin. I like how this is panning out because the people that sat together and formulated the concept of Bitcoin obviously had been around for a long time and had factored in all the possible scenarios and I would say obstacles way in advance. So they talked about inflation. They introduced, the algorithmic halving every 10,000 or every 4 years, almost every 4 years, to make sure that Bitcoin never gets to a point of inflation like normal fiat. They thought about, incentivizing computers for difficulty. So the network adjusts itself automatically when there are less miners, the difficulty reduces, so it allows people with less mining powers to mine. When there are more mining facilities, then the difficulty increases to even the odds for all miners. Again, when a geographical space become hostile, others take their space. What do I mean by that? In June 2001, China decided that they were going to ban and clamp down on all crypto mining industries. And these crypto mining industries were usually close to the power plants. And the reason they were close to the power plants is that you have a lot of power loss over a long period, over a long distance when you're transmitting electricity. So they usually just contract with the power company that instead of dissipating some of your excess energy, you can divert it to us. So that's how most of the mining rigs in in China were being run. Now, the Chinese government got angry with crypto miners because crypto miners were creating a market for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Bitcoin miners. Let's not say crypto miners alone. Bitcoin miners were creating a market for the wealthy in China that wanted to offshore their money. Now, this is a very important point. Somebody pointed my attention to it today, which was why one, the personal hypothesis is that the Chinese yuan is never going to become a global currency, that the design is not for it to become a global currency. That even if that was what people like Putin were hoping, that it was not going to happen, and he gave very solid reasons, and I'll explain the reasoning. And I completely agree with that reasoning because he sort of dissected the heart of the Chinese economy, and I mean the analysis was very straightforward, and it's very simple. China has largest, probably one of the largest numbers of millionaires and multi-billionaires, even in dollars. But the problem is you can't take the money away from China. There is a strong clamp down policy on the wealthy in China that ensures that the money stays in house. So anything that's going to make sure or give opportunity for the money to go out, the Chinese government is going to clamp down. CCP is going to clamp down completely on it. As a result of that, most of the wealthy are always looking for opportunities, either maybe not for themselves or usually for the upstrings, to be able to warehouse money out of China. And Bitcoin actually provided opportunity. The government found out that Bitcoin provided opportunity by giving them access to a global market essentially. Because what it meant was you could get Bitcoin, and wherever you are in the world, if you have a wallet and have an internet, you can plug in your wallet and get value for your Bitcoin. So because of that, they were very. In fact, I can count back 6 to 7 years of hostility, probably 8 years of hostility towards Bitcoin by the Chinese government. And this is the reason why they cannot afford for people to have alternatives. They cannot afford for people to be able to take their monies, especially the wealthy, to be able to take their monies out of China. So because of this, they had to clamp down on Bitcoin. So what happened? 50% or 40% of the mining power of Bitcoin went down in the month of April 2021. What subsequently happened was the miners packed their bags and baggages, packed their equipment. The smaller ones shipped off to Mongolia, Kazakhstan, which are very close countries, or something to Russia. The bigger ones got bought over by United States companies, and then they moved their mining rigs to the US. Part of those that moved their mining rigs to the US became bigger and raised more funds, obviously, because they moved their mining rigs to the US. US is a very big market. So they raised more funds and they made, bigger investments into the mining infrastructure. So it took only about 4 months, really. It took only about 4 months for the hash rate to go back to what it was before the Chinese clamped down. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it's important to understand where we are in the macro, in terms of the macro of the cycle. Because once you understand where you are in the cycle, every other thing makes sense. And understanding where you are is such a very deep concept that it applies to everything in life. I mean, even to a normal human being. If you wake up suddenly after a deep sleep and you lost orientation of time and space, I don't know if it's happened to you before, but I can remember at least two occasions that it's happened to me. If I slept for a very long time, one as a young person, maybe as a child. I think I was a child in primary school. What had happened was, I think maybe I walked or something, or missed my bus, so I had to walk home. So I was very tired, so I just got home and knocked out. By the time I woke up, I probably woke up like 8:30 or thereabouts. So when I woke up, it was as if I'd slept for the whole night. So at the back of my mind, the next thing was to look for my school shoes, school uniform, and I was going around the house trying to pick out stuff, and everybody was watching me. And at the back of my mind, I was thinking, why are they awake so early in the morning? I wasn't even figuring out that it was night, but because I was disoriented in time, because I slept a lot that afternoon, I didn't know, what time it was. So I was carrying on as if it was the next day. So disorientation on the market is a very big problem. So anytime I talk about the macro, is because we're always trying to find out and ascertain where we are relative to the market cycle. And I can give you two other examples. One other example is something called proprioception in the human body. Proprioception is a function of the nervous system. Basically, it's called joint position sense. That's what it's called. It just basically helps you to understand where your body is relative to the environment. If you don't have proprioception, meaning there's a part of the air that's responsible for that partly. If that thing gets lost, somebody can just fall down because you are not able to gauge where you are relative to your environment. So your muscle movement, your how you arrange yourself as a human entity becomes very difficult because you are not able to relate yourself to the environment. The same thing with things like the aircraft. Most of the 19, most of the time a plane is flying, 90% of the time, it's correcting its course. The reason it's correcting its course is because it's always going off course as it is flying in the air. So for it to make sure that it gets to the destination, it's always correcting back to the planned flight path. So understanding where we are is probably one of the biggest skills uh, in positioning as an investor, and even as as a trader. Like in trading, they will say you need to determine where the market is going. Is it going up? Is it going down? If it's going up, which part of which phase is the market in its up? Is it in an uptrend or in a downtrend? If it's in an uptrend, what are the entry opportunities? Is it correcting or is it making a total trend reversal? So understanding the macro is so critical. And for people who remember what I said back in January, February, when I was talking about the macro environment for crypto and the market cycle, what I said then was we'll have the next halving around March, end of March next year, which is like end of first quarter slash beginning of second quarter. What is halving? Halving is the breaking in algorithm of Bitcoin such that there is a drop in production by half almost every 4 years, approximately every 4 years. The last halving happened in 2020, in May of 2020. Because there are more computers now, it's getting closer to 3 years than 4 years. So the next halving now is next year. Based on the current rate of mining, it's showing anywhere between April and May. Sorry, yeah, March and April 2024. What happens usually is the market goes up in anticipation of the halving, and then market makers sell off because a lot of people are interested in the halving phenomenon. There's a lot of noise about it. So market makers sell off. The market usually crashes a bit, maybe loses like 12, 15%. Then the market starts to climb. From that climb, and I'll show that for the benefit of the people on call. From that climb, you can almost always see astronomical growth in the price of Bitcoin. So I'll look for let's take uh, let's take Bitstamp. Yeah, Bitstamp actually has a lot of historical data in the Bitcoin historical charts. Just going off of the last halving, which was May, yeah, which was May of 2020. If we plot a yeah May, if we plot on the weekly chart, the market went from 8,000, or let's say 9,000, and peaked out. So that was May. By when was this? By January. Between May and January, that's June. That's 7 months. It did a 369% increase between May and January after the halving. So understand that at the minimum, after the halving, you expect that the price of Bitcoin is going to double at the minimum. And usually people try to position either in advance or at the time of the halving. At the time of the halving, the price drops a bit. Everybody's in a frenzy, but after that, the price just keeps going up and going up and going up. Relatively because one, everybody understands that that is like the opening finale of the bull run. It's like that's what kicks off, quote unquote, what is called the bull run. Now, in retrospect, 2020 bull run had three cycles. The first cycle did a 300% from the original price and dropped back to, so the 300% from the original price, 370% took it to at the peak 42,162. It dropped back to 222% to 28,000. Then it went all the way back. So it went all the way back 400% plus to go to 64,000, which was the price we had mid 2021. Then we had that crash after the Bitcoin, what's it called? The Bitcoin mining cancellation in China. And then it came back to 150%. Then it went back again almost to 500% from the price during halving. If we do a comparative analysis with what happened in the 2017 20 yeah 2017 2016 bull run, just to give you a comparative analysis, I think the halving then was around June of 2017. If you plot from the bottom after the halving, which was 1952, to the very peak, so it had two waves, unlike the current one that had three waves. It first did it did a 155%, took a correction back to like 48%, then went all the way to 900%. Yeah, to 906% from the halving price. Why am I saying this? If you plot this on a logarithmic scale and you do a trend line analysis, what you find out is that if you did 900 um, in two bull runs ago, and it did almost 400 or 500 or 450 on the average on the last one, then you can assume that at the minimum, this next bull run will generate a 250% price gain from the post halving price. And I say the post halving price because the post halving price is usually close to what it was before in the bull run, or half of what it was in the previous bull run. And that was why I was postulating about 3 or 4 weeks ago that I was saying that now is the time to start buying Bitcoin. Now is the time to start positioning for altcoins. It's very simple. There's no, it's not rocket science. It's just basic understanding of time and understanding of seasons when it comes to the markets. I think, hold on a second. Let me check when I made that. I think I made that call in March. Yeah. So I made that call in March when the market was making some mad gains. And I think it's still not, we've not gone back to the March price of 27,000. We're still sitting in the range of 30,000. So I think we still have some room to go, probably, probably to 35, 36,000 before some major correction. But what I'm saying is, if someone takes a position now and the person ensures that they hold their position till during the halving, what it means is they're at least going to get double of what they invested in. But it depends on, it depends on, of course. Uh, okay, please hold on. I think the people on, there's a problem for the guys. Uh, yeah, I don't know why people can't join me. I don't know why people can't join me. It's live. Let's see. Copy invite. Yeah, I think some people are having, yeah, some people are having come on. That's strange. Yeah, something must have happened to this Zoom meeting stuff. 7. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Apologies, guys. I sent the wrong meeting code. That was my fault. Okay, let me correct for that. Apologies for
David, good evening.
good evening. Apologies. I sent the wrong meeting
It's
code.
just both. It's just both of us are here.
Yeah, because I sent the wrong meeting code earlier on.
Okay, because we're saying that the host is having another meeting. I said, which
Yeah.
other meeting can he be having? Eh? On
Yeah.
a Friday, on a Friday evening.
So
When Pepper is peppering me. Oh my God. That Pepper peppered me well, you. The thing, the way the thing is just going, eh? That Pepper, I don't understand what the thing is doing. I didn't buy you.
yeah,
Okay, Risha. Eh?
it's meme coin season. That's
Yeah. But a
Oh,
lot of
I'm in now.
yeah. Sorry, guys.
Good
Apologies.
evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, I sent out the wrong
The
meeting
link.
invite. So that was why I was
Okay,
looking where everybody was, but apparently that was what was
that's
going
fine.
on. So apologies. I'd actually continued thinking that people would join. So it was when I looked up and I was checking that, oh, there's still nobody. So I'd continued on Instagram thinking that, everybody would join on Zoom later. Yeah. So sorry for the guys that just joined. Let me just recap what I was saying before. So what I was saying before you joined was I was doing a comparative analysis of the behavior of Bitcoin before halving and after halving. So I'd shown on the chart that if you consider last bull run's halving, which happened around May, where is May 20? So it happened around this period, May, June 2020. If you consider the bottom price from that week, so after that week, which was, let's say it was 9,000 approximately, from that time to the peak in April, Bitcoin did about 600%. And if you go all the way to the actual peak of the markets, it did about 655%. What am I saying? In the last bull run, which is what exactly I was explaining before you joined, I'll show you again. In the last bull run of 2017, 2018, if you take the bottom price also from around June or thereabouts when the bull run happened to the peak of the market, it did do about, I think, about 900. Yeah, about 900% plus. So what I was saying is that the minimum that's expected after this bull run, the minimum that we can expect after this bull run is 250 or 200% from the post halving price. So if you draw, it's like proportions. If you draw a trend line, and if you put this on an a logarithmic scale and try to scale the movements accordingly, you will find out that between 2024 April May, which is March April, which is the time we're expecting the halving to happen, and the peak of the next bull run, at least 200% from that price. Now, that doesn't take into cognizance what price Bitcoin will be by March of next year. Remember what I said in March when I said that I don't think the market is going to come down significantly. Even if it does come down significantly, I think the base for the next leg up until halving will be around 25K. Personally, that's my projection. Now, if it goes to 35 now, it'll probably come back to 35. If it goes to 35, sorry, it'll come back to 25. Then keep going continuously till it gets to uh, halving of next year. Halving of next year, anywhere between 30 and 40K is fair price or pre-halving. So if you take that and say 200% at 40K, 200% at 40K will give you somewhere around 100K, which is still within the expected limits of the peak price for Bitcoin in the next halving. So for me, I think that people should not belabor themselves. Don't try to time the market. And before you joined as well, I was saying something about knowing where you are in the market. How knowing where you are in the market is so critical. It's like knowing how you position yourself in space. What do I mean? I'll go over that explanation again using three examples I use just for the benefit of people on Zoom. That knowing where you are in the market is like having what you call proprioception. I'll type it. I'll type that word. You can Google that word. Uh, or you can Google it now if you. Proprioception is the ability to is place yourself in space. It's in medical terms it's called joint position sense, meaning is able to that function of the nervous system is able to help you know where your limbs are, where your arms are, where your trunk is, relative to the environment and relative to each other. It sounds very, cliche, but it's really very important. If the body is not able to discover or tell how close the hand is to the eyes, then you can just move your hand and hit your face. You get what I mean? Or if the body is not able to determine how close the limbs are when you are trying to take a stride or move forward, if you can't determine how close you are to the ground, that's what happens when you miss your step. If you're walking in the dark, you think there is a step, then you step down and there is no step. That's stepping on air and landing suddenly on your feet is the work of proprioception. If you had light, your proprioception will be complete because your body can sense from the environment that this is the depth of the staircase. So if you take a step forward, you expect that there is a certain angle at which you are going to land. But if for whatever reason they take the light at the point where you're taking that step, you lose proprioception, and then you can miss your step, or you can take two steps further because you can't judge your limbs relative to yourself and the environment. That's exactly the 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 parallel that you have to understanding the market cycle and where you are in the market. And I give another example of aircraft. That aircraft are always correcting themselves when they're in flight because there is always a tendency to go off course. The only thing that keeps them off course is before they take flight, the navigation system will have plotted the path for them to take. So as the plane is flying, the wind is blowing the plane is also blowing off course. The only thing that's keeping the plane on track is the flight path that's been plotted by the navigation system. So the plane, even on autopilot, will always correct back to the flight path. The pilot, if he's driving manually, if he's driving the plane manually, or he's flying the plane manually, he also needs to correct to the flight path because that's the only way that will ensure that it gets to the destination. So in the same way, not understanding where we are in the market is like being completely blind or deaf or having loss of proprioception, not being able to understand balance with the environment. And that was why I was saying that it's very, very necessary to look at the market and look at where we are. And from there, tell ourselves, okay, this is where we are. If this is where we are, then this is how far we are from the journey. It's just like excuse me, going on a trip and taking Waze. If you take Waze and you miss your turning, Waze will try to recorrect to plot another path. What it's trying to do is to make sure that you can get to your destination safely. So essentially, understanding where we are in the market, which was where I started today's discussion from, is very critical. We need to know where we are in the market. Where we are in the market is less than 11 months to bull run. And no matter what the noise is, I want you to stand out from the noise and ask yourself, what's your strategy? And what do you want to get out of the coming bull run? It's important to ask yourself that. You know, some people might say, I want to hammer. What does that mean to you? You want to hammer, you want to blow. What does that what does that mean to you? Or I want to make this amount of money. Then if you want to make this, let's say you want to make $1 million, let's for discussion purpose. You want to make $1 million. If you want to make $1 million in the next bull run, the question you should be asking yourself is, how much do you have? Let's say you have $10,000. Just $10,000 in naira is about today's money 7.5 to 8 million naira. So what you're saying essentially is that you want to make 100x of what you have now. If you want to make 100x of what you have now, what's the best way to achieve that? Do you go and buy Bitcoin and wait? You're going to make 2x or 3x if you buy Bitcoin from current price. 3x if you buy Bitcoin with your investments. If you buy Ethereum, probably 5 to 10x. Then you need to now ask yourself, what are the tokens that can give me what I want? And there is no right or wrong answer, but you need to ask yourself what you really are looking out for. In the last bull run, which was just before the last bull run, I started taking crypto seriously. My self-assessment, or retrospective analysis, is that I should have just stuck to the basics. In the final analysis, when I look back, like, I should have stuck to the basics. There were so many here and there coins that I was getting myself into. 60% of them never saw the light of day by the time the bull run came. And even though at the time they looked like good projects, some of them are even giving, they were promising some promising mining, promising some returns. But at the end of the day, when I sit back and look at, okay, if I just gone in with 10,000 and sat on CRO, in fact, CRO alone, I think, did 10x. There were coins, there were some crazy coins that did 50, 40, 80, 100x. And there were coins that I knew about when those coins were selling for pence and cents, or less than cents. They were selling 0.0. So understand how you want to spread yourself. There's also no value in spreading yourself unnecessarily too thin. I think my Instagram has gone. My Instagram live has gone off. I don't understand what's going on with this. I don't understand. It's just misbehaving. Anyways, let's continue. So what I'm saying is, we need to take an assessment of where we want to be at the end of the bull run, and based on that, work back. And that's why I said you need to work back from what do you expect this coming bull run to do. At the minimum, this bull run will give us a 100k Bitcoin. 100k Bitcoin from today's price is pretty much 3x. So the next question is, what are the tokens that will position us to get us what we want? And what I want to talk about today is one of those tokens. I was planning on doing a deep dive on. I'll see if I can finish. If I can't finish, I'll continue next week, and I'll pick another ecosystem. So let's talk about the Cosmos ecosystem. The Cosmos ecosystem has been around for a while. So let me do a deep down on the the token itself. So if you look at the all time charts, it shows you that recording for Cosmos started around 2019, which was essentially about 15 months to the last halving. That was when um, Cosmos started. Now, as at the time of halving, Cosmos started pumping. So just in the run up to halving, when the market started peaking, was when Cosmos started its pump. And then up until May, was halving happened in May, Cosmos crashed like the rest of the markets. But look at this. From that crash, at the bottom my price of $9.55, Cosmos did almost 4x to the peak of the markets. Now the interesting thing about Cosmos is that they have all sort of all sort of coins in that network. And when an ecosystem has coins in its network, that's a lot. What you see is that there is more demand. People trying to flock the ecosystem. So what am I saying? A number of coins that I want to point out: Osmo, which is osmosis, uh, Oasis, which is rose. I bought some of this last go run. I sold them. I think I sold them my profits. ANKR definitely. FET, FHI. Cadena is relatively new, but I'm definitely going to keep Cadena on my view. I think I talked about it before. CTSI, I've heard about CTSI, Katesi. Uh, Loom is pretty old, and it's yeah, it has quite a lot of quite of okay, there's Irish network. So what I'm looking for most of these ones in this ecosystem are low market capitalization. So let's try to see if we can. Okay, there's no filter. I would have loved to filter by market capitalization so that you can see, or sort by market capitalization so that you can see the ones that have very small market cap. Uh, because if they have small market cap now, so let's take Cardina. I think I've opened Cardina. Cardina is just about 90 cents, right? Peak price for Cardina was 22 in 2021 November. So from here to all-time high is 2x, but there's a strong ecosystem. So like there's a strong ecosystem across Cosmos generally. So it's important that you, when you're taking positions, you take positions in tokens like this that have ecosystems backing. Because what will happen is there are some tokens that shine over two bull cycles. There's some tokens that shine, they're just a flash in the pan, like the likes of Shiba and Kishu and all those meme coins from the last bull run. But there are tokens that are really like ecosystem tokens, and because of that, they have huge potentials. So if I'm going to play cool, yeah, definitely will consider uh, Cardina. Chronos is CRO. It's really more of a CRO ecosystem than Cosmos ecosystem. But yes, I've talked about Chronos as well. I think Chronos is probably going to give it 10x from where we are right now. Cover is still very loaded. This Rose didn't really get a lot of didn't really a lot of traction last year. I mean, sorry, last bull run. But it was really, it was really going good. I had some bag of bulls at the time. Yeah, I think the peak price was, yeah, which is really fantastic. So peak price was 56 cents, but right now it's almost like 10x below, 10x below its peak price. So if you pick some from here, it's um, it's at least conservatively, even if you're not aiming for 10x, I think 5x is a different decent projection for this one. So these are the kind of tokens that I'll be looking out for because one, we know the performance in the last bull run. Two, from all-time high, which is something you can see here. Where's that analysis? From all-time high, you can see that, yeah, show more. You can see that um, it's about, yeah, 89.9% from all-time high. So if it goes back to all-time high, that's 8x. If it doesn't hit all-time high, it just goes back in line with the market, it will still give a simple 5x. So for these kind of tokens, guaranteed, I don't even have to worry. All I have to say is, okay, I put my money down and I say, when I'm 5x, I'm done. Or if, I want to be greedy, I'll say, okay, I'll take out 50% at 5x and ride the rest and see what the price gets to. What am I saying? You need strategy to win a war. And to make the best of the bull run, you need strategy. You need specific strategy. There'll be a lot of things that will call you for your attention. I mean, I was speaking to somebody. I was speaking to somebody over the last week, and the person was, a church member, and I was called into a conference call that the person said he invested his money in crypto, and then that's what he's saying. They don't understand it. So I tell me what he's saying. They said they don't understand. So they put the guy on the call. So I said, okay, which exchange are you, working with? He said, it's a particular platform that then they connect the platform to Binance. I said, okay, so what is the issue? He said he uses some the money to do some transactions. Then I said, so do you get paid in crypto? I said, yes. He said, so, but he needs to put in more money before he can get the money. I said, just stop there. That what you just told me is a scam. That I will do further research. That give me the website, but what you just told me is a scam. That it screams scam from head to toe. That if it talks like scam, looks like scam, and speaks like scam, it's definitely a scam. Of course, it was scam. When I checked the website was less than 3 months old. You only registered for 12 months. It was definitely a scam. So again, there'll be a lot of things that will be seeking your attention. There'll be a lot of projects that will be coming up. All sorts. You will see some smart contract that will promise to give you some crazy amount of money. As a matter of fact, they might work for some months and then just disappear after a few months. But what I'm begging you for, especially for people who have been following me on this channel for a while, what I'm begging you for is please be strategic. I think we've gotten to that point where we need to sit back and take a strategic look at what we're trying to achieve from the markets, and then based on that, determine what we want to get from the market. It's very easy to get carried away by the market cycle, but what I've told you, I think Bitcoin peak price is going to be anywhere from 100K to 120. Anything above 120 is extremely oversold. I will not be on the market. Even after 100K, I don't think I'll be on the market. I think I'll generally just convert back to USDC or cash out and buy other things and wait for the next 3 years. But what I'm saying to you is we're at that point where from now till the peak of the bull run, we need to be actively stacking. But when I mean actively stacking, that's not necessarily stacking bitcoins, but altcoins and other smaller cap crypto, but with a strategic standpoint that there is an exit strategy. If you don't have an exit strategy, you will not be able to maximize the gains of your investment in crypto. And I mean, I speak for most Nigerian investors when I say that most people's investment horizon barely exceeds a year. But crypto has made people extend their investment horizon before a year. What I'm telling you now is your investment horizon should you should plan to peak by January or February 2024. I don't think it's going to change significantly from the past bull runs in terms of the market cycle and how the market behaves post halving. So if you say you're going to exit at January or February 2024 or at anywhere close to 90K, for instance, then what it means is that immediately Bitcoin gets to 90K and shows any sign of stabilization, what it means is all the altcoins will fly for like 2 weeks. In the process of altcoins flying, cash out and just take your profits and go. Why am I saying this? There's a tendency to want to ride to the very last drop. Uh, it's a component of what you call greed and fear. So it's just like if you went to if you went to a slot machine and you've been playing and playing and playing and you didn't win, and then you played one and then the win was so colossal that it took out all the losses. There's that tendency that you want to continue because of the reinforcement of making huge profits. So understand that everybody is playing that game one way or the other, and the market makers also know this. So be prepared in your mind to take profits when the time comes. I'm not saying the time has come. I'm just saying that have that long term perspective and be prepared to take profits when the time comes. And I mean, I'm not saying this just for Kronos or or for Oasis or for Cosmos. I'm saying this across board. Be prepared. Have that mental take profit level for each of your investments because it's going to come down. And this is probably one of the most predictable investments category, honestly. Um, for things like oil and gold, they do have their predictability based on macroeconomics as well and what's happening in the environment. But this one is machine driven. Every 4 years there's an halving. So every 4 years we know the price is going to spike just on the basis that the production of Bitcoin has dropped by half. So keeping that keeping that in mind, it's very pertinent that you try as much as possible to determine your exit strategy to take your profits. It doesn't mean that you will not reinvest. I mean, you can actually, if you have a portion of your investment portfolio that you want to leave for a long time, you can just buy Bitcoin and just leave it there, knowing fully well that even if it goes to 100K, it will come back to 50K or 60K. It will still go again in another 3 or 4 years from the end of the bull run. So understanding that I think is very critical, and I don't want to forget I don't want to forget saying it. That's why I brought it up today. I was going to talk a lot about Cosmos, but I think that's more important than even trying to drill down on the Cosmos ecosystem because what it means is that you have a strategy for all the coins you're having. If I take a poll now on the call and say how many people have a complete tracking of their crypto portfolio, I doubt it's not up to half of you will. In fact, you know what? Let's take a poll. I'm going to just create a new poll. I just want to show you something. Poll next. Two choices. Yes. Have good portfolio. Choice 1 is yes. Choice 2 is no. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, please, if you're on Zoom, please just please help me fill out this poll. Yes, or is it a simple yes or no? Yes means you can track all your crypto. You know how much they are worth per time, and you know uh, what the gains are. So you see the post pop up on your Zoom. Yeah, trend is aligning with my impression about this. So very interesting. Okay, great stuff. Yeah, 33% have poor oversight of their portfolio. 67% too. I'm sure those 67% are veterans, are veterans of the former bull run. But yeah, what I'm saying is you need to determine for each of your assets, and you need to be sure that you're not too spread thin. So at some point in the last bull run, I had about 120 tokens that I'd invested in. And it was only when I started, like, what I need to really get to manage these things, that I sort of found out that some tokens had not performed at all. Meanwhile, some tokens had really gone far, and I didn't know, and I didn't, consider taking profits of them. So it's important. It's important that you have that perspective, and regardless of what you are buying, whether it's Bitcoin or that one that's been jumping around, or is Elon Musk or Elon Musk, whatever coin you're buying, just ensure that you have that strategy in mind, that this is this is when I'm going to exit on this particular position. So it's important that we keep that in mind. That's all I wanted to talk about. If you have any tokens that you had questions about, please let's have it, and look at it before we close. And sorry for the glitch earlier on. I sent the wrong invite.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening, Bamba.
Um, okay, what I wanted to ask, you were saying something about, okay, that
About what?
it's probably not, Bitcoin probably won't come down to more than 25,000 before
Yes.
the average. Yeah. Okay, so what you're saying is that we should start buying. Well, what exactly are you trying to say?
I already
We've
said
talked about it.
I
Okay,
already
so
said that over a month ago.
when do we start buying? That's the thing.
You can start buying now. You see, the concept of buying is, I know it's not
When
easy
it
to
comes
say
down,
people to dollar cost average, because you just want to take the money and just just buy it at once. Well, understand that you're not trying to time the market as it were, but you're
yes.
just trying to get the best position. So I would say hold on a bit. If you buy now, the market will probably go to 34, 33, 35 and come down. So I would say wait a bit. So let me look for that chart and show you something. So on a weekly chart, this is saying is that there is a it's called a variation. The variation is like when the market is about to make a U-turn of direction. Let me go to the 3-day charts. Or maybe even the daily. I think the daily chart will do it justice. Yeah. So the daily chart actually does justice. Explains what I wanted to say. So when a market is about to make a U-turn, quote and unquote, you see what you call a variation. A variation is basically a candle on the chart going in the other direction, and sometimes overshadowing the previous direction. So in this case now, the market has been going sideways. Then all of a sudden, you have this big pink sell candle that overshadowed all the candles before it, like 8 candles before it. So it meant at that point in time that the price was coming down, and the price did come down until you had this blue one again that overshadowed this one. So for this one, what I'm saying is this. Let me just say it in clear terms. Come on. So for this one, my expectation is that the price will get to 32K at the minimum 32K before it takes a correction. So if you buy now, you have to sell at 32K, because then it's going to try to come down to like either 30K or 25K. It depends on the market dynamics at the time, but those are the various. That's the way the market is looking right now. Let me show you. Okay, there's something called wave theory, which is like the market going is going what do you call it now? They say it's turning on you. They say Nigeria time for that. Okay, so something like this. So this is the way it looks like the market is going to go now. If it gets here and it breaks further up, then you can see maybe mid 30s and late 40s. But if it respects this level, which it should, somewhere around 32K, then you expect that you have another one that will come down maybe this way, go this way. So it might go this way, or it might come down this way, and then go this way, sorry, and then come down to this level, which is like 25. So possibilities here, possibilities here is this having this kind of structure. So, but what it looks, that's the way it looks to me, that the market is trying to play out. It's gone to 30K, it dug down to 27, it's trying to make a run for 32. If it hits 32, then expectedly it should at least make a pullback to 27 or 28K before trying an upsurge. If the upsurge is successful, then it means that it's going to go to 35K. So what am I saying? Um, the market is still going to go zigzag, zigzag. To put it in clear terms, till we get to halving. When we get to halving, it will go up significantly towards halving. But after halving, it will drop. But after that drop, you can be too sure that uh, you can get at the minimum 2x on the price of Bitcoin at the very minimum. Okay, yeah. No, not this one. There's another one. I thought that was a farm. I saw that farm somewhere. Oh, is it the same one? App for. Oh, really? Yeah, it's really very new. So there's nothing to it. What's the market capitalization? 5 million. Well, yeah, understandably, Coinbase they're disclaiming it's 1 billion at $1. Fully diluted market cap will be uh 1 billion. That's far fetched. At 100 million, it will be 10 cents. Uh, and right now, it's 2 cents. Oh, no, 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 sorry, it's not 2 cents. It's actually sitting below. um, Nothing much. I have no comment about it. I've heard about it, but yeah. Well, it looks like a good opportunity to buy. Having said that, if you have risk capital, it's alive on Arbitrum. Mhm. The bet, though, I must warn on this one. The bet on this kind of token is that Arbitrum is going to do well in the next bull run. If for whatever reason Arbitrum doesn't do well, then there's a problem. There's a problem with this kind of tokens. But if Arbitrum does well, then we can say that you can get a cheap 10x on this kind of project because it started at 0.02, which was like 2 cents. It's down by 50%. So if you buy now, you are guaranteed 100% return on your investment. Guaranteed. As the price begins to go up across the crypto sphere, you're guaranteed 100% on your investments. So for this, I would say, yeah, maybe, just maybe, it's a good buy to try some with. But apart from that, it's still a very very early days. Really, it's less than, wow, less than 3 days. Oh, I think you should wait. Less than 3 days. I think there'll be more dumping. What I think is, when a token is coming to general markets, the people that bought the pre-sales and the people that have invested or have it staking somewhere would start to sell. But I understand what they're trying to do. as a project, but it's all betting on the fact that the Arbitrum ecosystem is going to do well. So yeah, do what you will with that information, but yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to make some quick 100% return. I'm not saying it's going to go 100% from this price, but I'm just saying that over the next 6 months to 8 months, yeah, 100% return is guaranteed because it will try to go back to the opening price regardless. All right, thank you. We've finished up on our time. Is there any question before we call it today? Okay. So sorry about the mix up again. I think I would, if you want to watch the uh if you want to watch the video for today is on CryptoPulse weekly. I usually post it there. I will share the link on on the WhatsApp group after the call. Oh, Fab is not yet on what's it called, on centralized exchanges yet. You can only buy it, I think, on OpenOcean and SushiSwap. So you need a decentralized wallet and connect to one of the centralized SushiSwap specifically. You can buy it on SushiSwap. That's where you can get it. All right. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Take care. And for the guys in UK, have a lovely coronation weekend. It's another bank holiday on Monday, so have a lovely one, a lovely one on the long weekend. And take
Good night.
good night. Cheers.